And Kevin Kline, I learned a lot about Kevin Kline. One thing I learned about Kevin Kline is that he likes to walk around. For me, I learned more than I needed to ever know about.
Wow.
Blake Lively's attorneys were reported to have waited until the very end of the business day, just as the courthouse was closing, to make their long-anticipated move concerning the controversial audio file at the center of our ongoing legal dispute. The timing of this filing immediately drew attention, as it appeared to be an intentional decision to submit the update quietly, avoiding the typical midday media coverage and ensuring that reports would only surface after hours. The audio in question has been described as a critical piece of evidence. It is the same recording that Blake claims captures film executive Steve Sorowitz allegedly discussing plans to spend as much as $100 million to damage her career and reputation. According to filings from Lively's legal team, the recording could serve as proof of a coordinated effort to discredit and silence her following her professional fallout with Wayfair Studios. However, significant uncertainty continues to surround the circumstances under which this recording was obtained. It has been alleged that filmmaker Claire Aub, a director and writer who worked on Empire Waste, a project released by Wayfair Studios in the fall of 2024, secretly recorded the conversation without Sorowitz's consent. Aub's reported involvement in capturing this material has since become one of the most debated aspects of the case. If verified, the recording could expose a calculated campaign of personal and professional sabotage. Yet legal experts have already noted that the method by which the recording was obtained could determine its admissibility in court. In several jurisdictions, including California, recordings made without consent may be considered inadmissible, and in certain situations, they may even expose the individual who made them to potential liability. This legal uncertainty has made the recording's origin a major point of scrutiny. Observers have questioned whether it was collected legally and whether any chain of custody documentation exists to verify its integrity. Questions have also been raised about why Blake's attorneys, despite possessing the audio for months, chose not to include it in their earlier motions for sanctions and damages. Under standard legal procedure, evidence supporting such motions is usually filed concurrently to allow the court to review it within full context. The decision to withhold it for so long has been viewed as unusual. Some analysts believe that the delay may have been caused by ongoing efforts to authenticate the recording, ensuring that it had not been edited or altered. Others speculate that the decision may have been strategic, a move intended to influence public perception rather than court proceedings. In the modern media environment, where celebrity cases are followed minute by minute online, the balance between legal maneuvering and public relations is often delicate. If the audio proves genuine, it could represent a turning point in Blake's case, potentially lending weight to her claims of defamation and coordinated professional harm. Conversely, if doubts persist regarding its authenticity or legality, the tactic could severely undermine her credibility. The filing made late in the day only deepened this intrigue. Critics have suggested that the timing appeared more aligned with managing headlines than routine legal scheduling. Whatever the motivation, the maneuver has highlighted the increasingly complex nature of this high-profile legal battle. In a surprising development, it was later revealed that the court itself had never received a copy of the audio. Recent filings confirmed that the recording was not included with earlier submissions, meaning that neither the presiding judge, the clerk, nor opposing counsel had access to it. The issue surfaced publicly when the judge noted that his office had received multiple inquiries from the press regarding an audio file that was believed to have been unsealed. "We're getting requests about this audio," the judge reportedly stated during a recent hearing. "We don't have a copy of it." His comments underscored the unusual handling of this evidence, a highly sensitive exhibit that was cited by the plaintiff's team but never actually entered into court record. In response, attorneys for both Blake Lively and Wayfair Studios submitted a joint letter referencing the court's October 15, 2025 order. Both sides confirmed their plan to make the recording accessible to the public in accordance with California's Civil Code Section 47.1, which governs defamation-related communications. Rather than uploading the file digitally, the parties agreed to provide physical copies of the recording on compact discs. These CDs will be filed with the court clerk's office, where members of the public will be able to request and duplicate them for a small administrative fee. The court's docket system reportedly lacks the technical capacity to upload audio files, prompting this more traditional approach. Still, legal observers have expressed skepticism. Many courts routinely handle digital exhibits, leading some analysts to believe that the use of physical CDs is a deliberate choice intended to slow public access or limit direct responsibility. By routing the release through the clerk's office, Blake's attorneys reduce their own liability in case the recording is later deemed inadmissible or unlawfully obtained. Counsel for both parties have confirmed that only limited requests for the audio have been received thus far, but they have stated that sufficient copies will be made to meet any future demand. The core question remains, why was the CD not submitted earlier when the motion was first filed? Without the physical recording, the judge had no means of reviewing or verifying the evidence firsthand. Under federal evidentiary standards, any audio submitted must be properly authenticated. This typically requires a sworn statement explaining how the recording was made, what equipment was used, and affirming that the material has not been altered. A written transcript usually accompanies such evidence to aid judicial review. In the absence of these materials, the audio exists merely as hearsay. As of now, the recording remains an exhibit in support of motion, not a verified piece of trial evidence. The court must still determine whether it meets standards of authenticity, relevance, and legality before any portion can be admitted at trial. Interestingly, Wayfair has not opposed its release, which some interpret as a sign of confidence in their position. The judge has also issued related orders addressing the New York Times, which has sought a final judgment in consolidated matter. The publication's involvement stems from its ongoing interest in accessing and reporting on materials related to Blake Lively's claims against Wayfair Studios, including sealed filings and evidentiary exhibits that have generated intense public curiosity. However, the court has declined to finalize the matter, emphasizing that several unresolved issues, including motion for attorney's fees and costs, remain pending. In his order, the judge directed all parties to provide clarification on whether these open motions keep the case technically active. Such procedural questions, while routine in complex litigation, carry significant implications in this particular case. If the court determines that certain motions remain unresolved, it could delay the entry of final judgment and prolong the window for appeals or additional filings. In simpler terms, the matter may not be as close to conclusion as some observers initially believed. Blake Lively's legal team has now been given a firm deadline Monday, October 20th, 2025, to deliver a physical CD of the controversial audio recording to the court. Once the CD is received and logged by the clerk's office, copies will be made available to members of the public through formal request channels. Those wishing to obtain a copy will be required to file an in-person request, pay a small administrative fee, and provide appropriate identification before a duplicate is issued. This process, while standard for certain forms of court records, has been criticized as unnecessarily outdated, especially in a case of such public significance. In most federal and state courts today, electronic evidence, including audio and video files, can be uploaded to the docket system as secure digital exhibits. These are often accessible online to the press and public within hours of filing. The decision to use physical CDs, therefore, has puzzled many legal observers who view it as a step backward in transparency. Legal analysts suggest that the reliance on physical media could be a deliberate choice intended to slow the pace of public access. By requiring individuals to appear in person to obtain copies, the process becomes more controlled and easier to monitor. This allows both the court and the parties to manage the release more cautiously, minimizing the risk of premature leaks or misinterpretations. Still, few doubt that once the CD becomes part of the official record, it will only be a matter of hours before the contents reach the wider internet. It is widely expected that a journalist, researcher, or even an online user will quickly obtain and upload the file, ensuring that the recording's contents circulate across social platforms. Given the case's high-profile nature, platforms such as Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube are likely to become the primary arenas for analysis, speculation, and debate. By opting to submit the recording to the court rather than releasing it directly, Blake's attorneys have effectively distanced themselves from any potential legal fallout. If the recording were released independently and later determined to have been obtained unlawfully, her team could face accusations of disseminating illegally recorded material. By routing it through the clerk's office, they ensure that the act of disclosure is handled through official judicial channels, thereby limiting exposure to potential legal repercussions. Nevertheless, the decision has reignited discussions about the true intent behind this latest filing. Critics argue that the maneuver appears more theatrical than procedural, a calculated move designed to sustain public attention while maintaining plausible deniability. The method, timing, and tone of these filings all appear carefully crafted to control the narrative surrounding Blake's claims. Legal commentators have noted that the choice to reveal the recording at such a late stage could be a double-edged sword. On one hand, the existence of the audio may lend credibility to Blake's allegations if it indeed contains the remarks she claims. On the other hand, if the recording is incomplete, distorted, or revealed to have been obtained improperly, it could undermine her credibility and weaken her broader case. Adding to the complexity is the fact that the recording remains unauthenticated. Until its origin, recording method, and chain of custody are verified, the court cannot rely on it as valid evidence. It currently exists merely as an exhibit attached to a motion, a supporting document, not an admitted trial item. For it to be accepted as evidence, Blake's team must demonstrate that the recording is genuine, untampered, and legally obtained under applicable state and federal wiretapping laws. Even so, the recording's public release could influence how the case unfolds moving forward. Public opinion, once galvanized, can exert significant pressure in celebrity legal matters, shaping perception, affecting reputations, and even impacting potential settlement dynamics. In this sense, the CD's release may play as much to the audience outside the courtroom as to those inside it. Until the CD is officially submitted, however, its contents remain confined to Blake's legal team. No one, not the judge, the defense, nor the press, has yet heard what the recording actually contains. This absence of first-hand knowledge has fueled speculation and created an environment where rumor fills the void left by evidence. Once the disc is finally in the court's possession, the legal and public narratives may change dramatically. If the audio supports Blake's claims, it could validate her position that a deliberate campaign of professional sabotage was orchestrated against her. But if the contents fail to match expectations, or if questions about authenticity persist, the result could be devastating for her credibility, transforming what was once portrayed as evidence of conspiracy into a symbol of procedural miscalculation. Either way, the moment the CD enters the court's records will mark a pivotal turning point in this unfolding legal spectacle, one that will determine whether Blake Lively's long battle for vindication is strengthened by truth or overshadowed by doubt.